Our protagonist, Naofumi Iwatani, was a simple otaku struggling to make ends meet until he stumbled upon a remarkable find at his local library. As he perused the manga collection, a massive tome fell from the shelf, hitting him squarely on the head. The title of the book caught his eye: The Records of the Four Holy Weapons. With curiosity piqued, he opened the ancient text and began to read. As he delved into the tale, Naofumi discovered that it detailed a world on the brink of destruction, saved only by four heroes wielding holy weapons: a sword, a spear, a bow, and a shield. Although Naofumi initially found the storyline cliché, he became intrigued by the idea of the shield as a weapon. Suddenly, the pages went blank, and he lost consciousness. When he came to, he found himself in a grand throne room, wearing a mysterious shield that he couldn't remove. 3 other individuals stood before him, each brandishing a weapon. Naofumi felt as though he had stepped into the pages of the book he had been reading. As a priest pleaded with the group to save their world, Naofumi realized they were short on time. Waves of monsters were invading from another dimension, and the kingdom of Melromark was struggling to defend itself. The kingdom's knights and adventurers were barely able to fight off the first wave. The kingdom possessed a relic item, the dragon hourglass, which informed them that a second wave was soon to begin. Despite his otaku tendencies, Naofumi was thrilled at the prospect of becoming a hero and saving the world. The group was introduced to King Alcray Melromark XXXII, who promised them a handsome reward and funds to aid in their mission. When the king asked for their names, the 3 Japanese heroes introduced themselves as Rinamaki, a 16-year-old high school student and the hero of the sword; Itsuki Kawasumi, a 17-year-old high school student and the hero of the bow; and Moto Yasuki Tamura, a 21-year-old university student and the hero of the spear. The king seemed to ignore Naofumi until he finally spoke up, announcing himself as the shield hero, Naofumi Iwatani, a 20-year-old university student. The main character couldn't shake off the feeling of unease as he was treated with suspicion and skepticism. Something about the way everyone looked at him made him feel like an outsider, but he couldn't quite put his finger on why. The main priest called out to the 4 heroes to check their status. While the other 3 seemed to know exactly what to do, the main character was at a loss. They had to walk him through it, pointing out an icon blinking in his field of vision and telling him to focus on it. Finally, a window popped up, revealing all his statistics. The screen showed his name, Naofumi Iwatani, followed by his class, Shield Hero, and level 1. His equipment consisted of a small shield, a legendary weapon, and other world clothes. His stats revealed that he had a ton of defense, a bit of agility, MP, and HP, but 0 attack. The shield hero was confused by all of this. As the priest tried to explain stasis magic to them, the other heroes chatted among themselves about what they believed was going on. The shield hero was amazed that this felt like a real game, and the hero of the sword informed him that they were, in fact, playing a virtual reality MMORPG. The other 2 heroes believed they were in Emerald Online. As they chatted, the shield hero realized that all 3 of them thought they were playing a different game, but they all had similar experiences, which meant they had an advantage that he didn't. The spear hero asked him if he had any similar experiences, to which he replied that he had never played a game like this before. However, he mentioned that it was similar to a book he had read. The other 3 heroes felt sorry for him, realizing that as the shield hero, he had no idea what was coming. Suddenly, a group of adventurers from all across the land entered the throne room. The king explained that they had to embark on a journey to become stronger. However, he warned them that their weapons would become ineffective if they traveled together, so they had to each take separate paths. The adventurers would then choose which hero they would travel with. 5 adventurers chose the hero of the sword, 3 chose the hero of the bow, and an all-girl crew of 4 adventurers chose the hero of the spear. No one stepped forward for the hero of the shield, leaving him feeling alone and rejected. Arrogantly, the king remarked, "The shield hero does not seem to be very popular. To think it would come to this." The shield hero stood there, head down and dejected. But soon, that dejection turned into fury. This wasn't his fault. He had done nothing wrong. If they had something to say, they should say it to his face. The other heroes explained that, in the beginning, a shield was a great weapon, but soon it would become useless. It wasn't really a weapon and was only used by noobs. It wasn't suited for heroes, and that's how it was in all their games. Despair came tumbling down on the shield hero. He felt that everyone was mocking him, and that they all hated him. However, one adventurer stood up for him. She didn't like seeing someone in such despair and offered to team up with him. The king furnished the shield hero with his full monthly allowance, allowing him to recruit more party members. And so, the heroes set out on their journey. His new companion suggested that they head straight to the blacksmith's shop to get new equipment. They had 800 pieces of silver, enough to take care of all of their needs. The shield hero was determined to use his money wisely and make them regret not traveling with him. Upon entering the blacksmith's shop, they were greeted by a friendly blacksmith who recommended a sword since the shield hero had no experience. His female companion suggested spending no more than 250 pieces of silver. The shield hero picked up a sword to test it out, but an invisible force knocked it out of his hands. A pop-up explained that he was in violation of the legendary weapons rule. The heroes may not, aside from their assigned legendary weapon, hold a weapon with the intent to fight with it. The shield hero was taken aback. How was he supposed to fight without a weapon? Luckily, the blacksmith furnished him with new clothes and chain mail for free. His attitude improved immensely, but his coin purse was depleted after completely equipping his new companion. As they ventured outside the city walls, their journey began fighting orange balloons. Though quite aggressive, they were weaklings, and they had no problem defeating them. However, the shield hero's presence attracted a swarm of orange balloons. Fortunately, his high defense meant he received no damage. He was determined to destroy the last balloon and put everything he had into it. He popped it and received 1 EXP. As they sat around for dinner, they discussed their plans moving forward. They decided to head to a town on the other side of the forest, which had a dungeon great for newbies to level in. They expressed their gratitude to each other, and the shield hero thanked his new teammate for believing in him. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought about how everything could have gone terribly wrong. But as long as he had his new partner by his side, he would be okay. However, as he slept, his new partner robbed him of everything he had, which would soon leave him with nothing but a newfound sense of caution and suspicion. The shield hero woke up to a cruel surprise. All his belongings had been stolen, leaving him with nothing. Desperate, he searched his room, but before he could find any answers, the king's knights barged in, arresting him on suspicion of sexual assault. Despite his pleas that he was innocent and the victim in the situation, the knights dragged him away to face the king's wrath. Furious, the king attacked the shield hero, accusing him of being a fiend. The shield hero begged them to listen to reason, insisting that he was innocent and that his teammate could vouch for him. But when the other heroes brought her in, she broke down in tears at the sight of him, claiming that he had drunkenly forced himself on her. The other heroes immediately jumped to her defense, accusing the shield hero of planning this all along. Overwhelmed and alone, the shield hero retreated into despair as his former teammates slowly smiled, revealing that she had set him up. He tried to explain himself, but they attacked him mercilessly, claiming that he was a rapist and a monster. Consumed by dark emotions, the shield hero felt himself spiraling out of control. He couldn't believe that he had been betrayed by someone he had trusted so deeply. He felt like they were all filth, out to get him because of his status as a shield hero. They had kicked him while he was down and brought him to this place. Why had he ever agreed to protect such people? His manic thoughts began to consume him. He realized that he didn't care about this world anymore, and he wished it would burn. But even if he wanted to leave, he had no way to return to his own world. The other heroes had made it clear that they hated him, and he knew that he couldn't trust anyone. Still, the shield hero refused to give up. He knew that they underestimated him because of his status as a shield hero, but he was determined to prove them wrong. He wouldn't let them destroy him without a fight. The king had made a decision. he would participate in the next monster wave, and in doing so, he would avoid any punishment. However, the citizens of the kingdom would know what he had done, and that would be his crime alone. As the knights roughed him up and tossed him out of the castle, the citizens shied away from him as he walked the streets. Even the blacksmith confronted him for his crime, and the shield hero was surprised when even he seemed ready to attack him. He had always thought of the blacksmith as a good person. As the blacksmith raised his hand to strike him one last time, he looked into the shield hero's eyes and saw the hurt and innocence there. The blacksmith then tossed him a farewell gift to help him on his travels and wished him to come back safe. The shield hero spent his time leveling up slowly on the orange balloons, knowing that since he had no attack, it would take him forever to get to level 2. However, he spotted a cluster of leaves that looked like the items that came in the old blacksmith's bag. As he picked them, his shield sucked them in, and a pop-up informed him that he had met the requirements to unlock the leaf shield. He realized that the old blacksmith was on his side and had only yelled to make the citizens think he was upset. The bag the blacksmith had given him was full of very useful stuff, and he was now indebted to him. He was beginning to understand that this world was like a video game. His shield had branches that he could unlock, making it more useful. He had also unlocked the orange shield, which was likely from killing all the balloons. The leaf shield had a harvesting skill that would allow him to make money. After spending some time collecting medical herbs, he headed to town to sell them. But he knew he would most likely be taken advantage of, so he prepared in advance. The merchant let it slip that the quality of the herb was very high, but because he was a criminal hero, he wouldn't be able to offer a good price. The shield hero opened his cloak, revealing that it was full of orange balloons ready to attack. The merchant immediately changed his tune and offered him a fair price. Sitting alone at the table, the shield hero was lost in thought. He had made some money, but it was nothing compared to what had been stolen from him. Just then, 2 individuals approached him, offering their companionship. But the shield hero sensed that they were not sincere, and quickly tossed an orange balloon monster at each of them, startling them away. As he stood there, still lost in thought, a shady character approached him. The swindler seemed to know all about the shield hero's reputation, and offered him some irresistible items for sale. The shield hero followed the swindler down a dark alley to his shop, where he was confronted by the sight of enslaved demi-humans. The swindler showed him his best inventory, including a level 75 wolf that was clearly beyond the shield hero's budget. Frustrated, the shield hero asked to see something more affordable. The swindler showed him some problematic stock that needed training, but the shield hero was determined to find a male that wasn't broken. Suddenly, the shield hero heard a cough that caught his attention. He turned to see a female raccoon demi-human who was sick and didn't have long to live. The shield hero decided to take a chance on her, despite her poor health. The sick girl's name was Raftalia, and the shield hero knew that he had made the right decision. The shield hero wasted no time in taking his newly acquired slaves straight to the blacksmith's shop to be equipped. He made sure to repay the money that was owed and requested a weapon that would cost around 6 silver. In addition, he also took any clothing items that the blacksmith needed to get rid of, proving that he was a shrewd negotiator. While his slave got dressed, the shield hero reflected on what had just happened. He couldn't believe that the swindler had used his blood to paint a slave crest on Raftalia's chest, which made her obedient to him. It was a disturbing experience, but at least she was the only party member he could trust now. When Raftalia returned in her new gear, the shield hero commanded her to stab the balloon under his cloak. She was frightened by the monster and panicked, but the slave crest forced her to obey. Though weak, she gave it her all, and the balloon popped. The shield hero was pleasantly surprised to find that he had gained experience points for her kill. When the blacksmith asked if he had registered her as a party member, the shield hero was reminded of the thief who had betrayed him before. He was glad he had someone he could rely on now. He ordered Raftalia to fight monsters for him from now on, promising to protect her if she did. He also warned her not to die on him, which made her shocked and nervous. The two left the blacksmith's shop, and the blacksmith wondered whether his little shield boy had gone off the deep end or if the country was just messed up. As they headed to the field to slay monsters, the shield hero and Raphtalia encountered different types of balloon monsters. They defeated a rotten egg balloon that covered Raphtalia in smelly slime. As she cleaned up in the river, the shield hero examined their loot and realized that his new slave was the best investment he had made since coming to this world. Ever since he bought her, Raphtalia had been coughing incessantly. While she watched over their dinner, the shield hero spent his time crafting a potion to cure her cough. He knew she also suffered from panic attacks, but the cough was an immediate problem. When he gave her the potion, she immediately threw it up and complained about the taste. The shield hero ordered her to drink multiple bottles, despite her agony, using the slave crest to force her to comply. He reminded her that as long as she didn't disobey his orders, she wouldn't be in pain, pinching her cheeks. After taking her medicine, Raphtalia finally lay down to rest, and the shield hero took the first watch to let her sleep. As he learned new medical recipes, he noticed she was sweating and having a nightmare, so he held her in his arms, rocking her back to sleep. He couldn't imagine what it must have been like for her to become a slave at such a young age, and he knew she must have had a lot of dark things in her past. Despite wanting to free her, he couldn't risk his own survival. During their shopping around town, the shield hero kept an eye on Raphtalia, noticing her childlike innocence as she talked to the cats, played by herself, and watched the city kids play with a ball. He approached her and asked if she liked the ball, but she screamed that she didn't want one, which confused him. He wondered if she was just hungry. At the restaurant, he ordered 2 cheap meals, but noticed that Raphtalia kept eyeing the kids' meal. He ordered one for her, but she insisted she didn't want it. When he asked why, she explained that her previous masters had gotten angry whenever she was happy. The shield hero told her that he needed her to be his weapon, and what was the point of a blade that didn't have a sharp edge? He encouraged her to sit down and enjoy the food, and she stuffed her face with a total lack of manners, but said it was really good. As the shield hero ate his food, he realized he still couldn't taste anything. He wished he could return to his world as soon as possible, but for now, he needed to focus on protecting himself and Raphtalia. As they ventured further into the dense forest, the shield hero and Raphtalia sought out more formidable foes to test their mettle. Suddenly, a bunny monster appeared, but despite Raphtalia's best efforts, she couldn't bring herself to strike the killing blow. The sight of blood made her recoil in fear and pain. The shield hero knew that this bunny was different from any other creature they had faced thus far, but he didn't want to let Raphtalia off the hook. "It's still an enemy," he explained firmly. "You have to fight it, or I can't keep looking out for you. Listen to me." He revealed to her the looming threat of a devastating wave of destruction that was rapidly approaching. As the shield hero, he was duty-bound to fight it, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed her help, and if she couldn't handle the pressure, he'd have to find someone else who could. He didn't want to, but he had no choice if he wanted to survive. Raphtalia understood his words, but she was still afraid. She didn't want to fight, and neither did he, but they had no other option. "You're the shield hero," she said resolutely. "You have to fight against the waves of destruction." He nodded in agreement, relieved that she was willing to stand by him. With newfound courage, Raphtalia took up her weapon and struck down the bunny with a fierce blow. Blood stained the ground, but she didn't flinch. As they sat around the campfire, roasting the bunny's flesh, the shield hero's meal tasted bland and flavorless, but Raphtalia found it delectable. Despite her cough returning, she didn't hesitate to consume the bitter medicine. The shield hero couldn't understand her motivations fully, but he knew she wasn't just fighting to escape her captivity. There was something more driving her, something that made her willing to face her fears and fight alongside him. Raphtalia was having a peaceful dream of her life before she became a slave. Her mom and dad told her the tale of the 4 saints, and particularly the tale of the shield hero. He was always kind to the demi-humans. She really wanted to meet the shield hero, but her parents explained that the heroes were never summoned during peaceful times. and her dreams shifted to the terrible things that happened to them. She dreamed of the three-headed dog and falling away from the demons. The shield hero took her into his arms, as she screamed in her sleep. He stayed by her side until she awoke the next morning. The day the first wave appeared had been what was hunting her all this time. The two sold their goods in a small village outside the castle town. But the village wasn't able to offer them much. The village had been going through a rough time since the first wave of the calamity. There had been rumors of demons roaming the area. All the villagers that remained wondered when the heroes would come to their rescue. The shield hero obtained information that the coal mine nearby could earn him a little cash. So that will be their next stop. On their way out of the village, he bought Raftalia the ball she was interested in the castle town. He informed her that work always came before play. Raftalia knew the shield hero was different than the rumors she'd heard, and he was much scarier than she thought. But her opinion of him had changed. He was not the man the rumors said he was. As the shield hero collected the supplies around the small coal mine, he learned a new skill. Pickaxe shield and airstrike skill, both would be useful as they went spelunking into the mine. As the two headed deeper into the mine, Raftalia noticed blood tracks along the ground. The tracks appeared to be small, so whatever made them couldn't be too much of a problem. While she was afraid, she would do her best to make herself useful to her lord. After a lengthy search, the shield hero found the ore deposits. He switched to his pickaxe shield. While equipped, his mining skill was +1. The shield showed him the direct place to hit for maximum harvest. As he busied himself with mining, Raftalia wandered off into the darkness. Her torch attracted a two-headed dog demon. She wished to be useful to her lord, but the two-headed dog was too similar to the demon from her past. She froze up in terror as the two-headed dog attacked her. The shield hero rushed to her aid, sending the two off the edge of a cliff. He used the rope shield to pull the two out of the underground pond they landed in. As Raftalia apologized for not doing her duty and fighting, the shield hero knew that this was linked to her nightmares and demanded to hear the whole story. She explained that her family lived peacefully in the town of demihumans. It was on the outskirts of this country, near the ocean, until the first wave of the calamity struck. A swarm of demons swept through the town before anyone could form a counteroffensive. As her family escaped, a three-headed dog cornered them on the edge of a cliff. With love in their eyes, her parents pushed her off the cliff, sacrificing themselves for her safety. Now the shield hero understood what traumatized Raftalia. As he started helping her with this problem, the two-headed dog appeared. He grabbed her wrist as she started to panic. "Listen, Raftalia, you're not going to run. You're going to stand here and you're going to fight." As tears fell from his face, he explained that they needed to get stronger. As the shield hero, they would fight the calamity, and no other kids would go through the things she went through. It wouldn't do anything to bring her parents back, but she can change the future for a lot of others. Relax. I will protect you. Raftalia, hurry up and attack. Her body froze in place. She wanted to protect her lord, but she couldn't. She realized that if she didn't help, everything would be the same. He would die and she would be left alone. She pushed past her fears and attacked the first head she could reach. Her sword shattered and the dog's attention turned to her. The shield hero used his new ability, Airstrike Shield. It bought her a moment of time to form a counter-offensive. She picked up the broken fragment of the sword. Raftalia stabbed the hilt into one's head, and threw the blade end through the other. The shield hero had sustained injuries to his shoulder from the attack. Raftalia rushed him, pleading with him to never die on her, to please never leave her alone. He hugged her and gave her the words to reassure her that that would never happen. She asked him for his name. He realized that he had never properly introduced himself. He told her his name was Iwatani Naofumi. And with that, they were formally introduced. That night, she had one final dream. She explained to her parents that she had met the shield hero, and he wasn't as scary as she first thought. But she would be all right now because Lord Naofumi was by her side. The three heroes ran into each other in the guild hall of the Adventurers Guild. they did quests for the Adventurous Guild to fund their journey. The Spear Hero's party had changed since it was first formed. He bashfully acknowledged that there were so many girls that wanted to adventure with him. The Sword Hero warned him that he would be taken out by one day. He acknowledged that he had already been killed once. He even thought he had died. They each recounted the tale of how they came to this world. The Spear Hero was killed because of his fondness for the opposite sex. The hero of the sword recounted that there was once a criminal loose in a town. He tried to help his friend, but the criminal got him instead. "Let me guess, you woke up here?" the bow hero said. The bow hero explained that a dump truck turned right into him. To the three of them, this place was kind of like heaven. Their adventures here so far had been a breeze. Their past knowledge allowed them to push through dungeon encounters without even trying. Their conversations turned to Naofumi. "Did you hear he's threatening people with monsters?" "Yeah, and he has this country bumpkin girl he's dragging around." The Spear Hero went off on how he has no respect for women, and he'd never forgive him. The other two noted that it sounded like he was jealous. "He's a piece of trash." The conversation drifted towards their levels and their eagerness for the upcoming wave. Naofumi and Raftalia entered the blacksmith shop. It had been a while since they were in the castle town, and the blacksmith was interested in their journeys. Raftalia told the blacksmith that the staff at the inn taught her how to eat in a sophisticated manner, just like Lord Naofumi. The shield hero explained that the last time he was here he had been worried he wouldn't be able to become stronger. All that had changed now. He also informed the blacksmith that Raftalia's cough was cured. She eats well and her physique has gotten a lot better. She was furious that he made it sound as if she was fat. "She has gotten big, hasn't she?" the blacksmith says. "What a looker she's become." For some reason Naofumi was unable to see that Raftalia had grown into a beautiful young lady. To him she still looked as if she was 10 years old. And he was starting to get upset that this country was full of creeps that couldn't keep their eyes to themselves. The blacksmith was shocked by this, and tried to explain to him that demi-human kids. But Raftalia cut him off and asked him not to talk about it. So the blacksmith steered them back to the reason they came into his shop today. Raftalia perked up at this. She explained that they were here to buy Naofumi protective gear. The shield hero was thrown off by this. They had come here to get a new weapon for Raftalia. As the two argued over the situation, the blacksmith pulled a sword off his wall to solve the problem. He turned to Naofumi and informed him that he looked like a normal villager with the clothes he was wearing. Raftalia explained that he had recently got injured in a coal mine, and she was not interested in having her lord die on her. Naofumi thought about how Raftalia had become so intelligent she was able to bypass the rules of her slave crest with no problem. She was becoming a pain in his ass. Raftalia explained to him that the calamity was approaching, and this was the time that they needed to re-equip themselves the most. They had to prepare, and they both had to survive. The shield hero was surprised that it was already that time. No one had told him when exactly the wave would begin. So, the blacksmith explaining that if he visited the church in the main square that he would find an item inside called the Hourglass of the Dragon's Era. And legend said that when the hourglass was empty that all the heroes and their comrades would be transported to the place where the calamity would take place. Naofumi couldn't understand why everybody knew so much more about this subject than he did. Well, that'll be our next stop. After Naofumi is fully re-equipped. Alright, already I get it. This blacksmith asked what their price range was for today. Our range is around 180 silver coins, said Raftalia. Naofumi flipped out. Who gave her the right to make that decision? And both the blacksmith and Raftalia ignored him and carried on with their conversation. Naofumi was sure that the gear that the blacksmith chose for him would make him look evil. He was not down for this. So instead they decided to have his gear specially made using the materials they had collected thus far in their journey. They had some time while it was being crafted. So, they headed out to lunch. Raftalia teased Naofumi about how big a fan the blacksmith was of his. Don't you think he's a good man? He calls you the Shield Kid. He's most definitely watching over you. And I guess he's watching over me as well. Someone's stomach growled, and this time it was not Raftalia. Nothing Naofumi ate had any flavor, but he stayed hungry. He ordered the kids' meal for Raftalia at their favorite restaurant. And when it arrived, she flipped out that she was no longer a child. He reminded her that just 2 weeks ago that she was so happy to get that very same meal. She tried to explain to him that she wasn't the same as she was back then. All he replied was, "Deep down you really want to eat it, right?" She really enjoyed the kid's meal and he teased her for it. The blacksmith had crafted him a set of tribal armor. Naofumi thought it made him look like a bandit. And the blacksmith agreed that with his current face, he indeed looked like a burglar. Raftalia was amazed by the gear and thought it fit her lord perfectly. The blacksmith informed them that the armor could be improved if they brought him more materials. Naofumi decided to wear the gear since the blacksmith made it for him. It would be his loss if he didn't wear it. Naofumi asked how pricey those other options would be. The blacksmith let him know that he considered them to be good friends. He had known him since the day he had arrived. From the moment I looked into your eyes, I knew you weren't like what everyone said you were. So, I'll do the work for cheap. Naofumi thanked him for his kind words. And the blacksmith thought to himself that his Shield Kid's eyes had returned to the ones he saw when he first arrived, and that was pay enough for him. The two entered the Church of the Four Saints. It was the most beautiful church that Naofumi had ever seen. 2 nuns led them to the hourglass of the Dragon Era. The hourglass rose from the floor to the ceiling, and as Naofumi laid eyes upon it, a pop-up showed that there was only 20 hours remaining before the next wave. And at that moment he was interrupted by a rude comment. If it isn't the great criminal shield hero himself. The spear hero attacked him for not being able to fight. Naofumi fought to keep the darkness at bay. Raftalia stepped in as the spear hero's companions attacked him for not answering their lord. She politely inquired the identities of the members of the group. The spear hero took this as an opportunity to invite her to his group. Beautiful mistress. If you feel up to it, would you mind saving the world alongside me? Naofumi raged on the inside. How dare he flirt with a child when he had so many women in his party? Raftalia turned him down, for she was already Lord Naofumi's companion. The spear hero began to attack Naofumi's character in front of Raftalia. And that was where he drew the line. Naofumi stepped between the two. And the spear hero continued, "The only thing you'll be doing during this wave is protecting yourself and watching as the real heroes take care of the demons." The spear hero decided to dig into Naofumi a little. He asked how he was able to bag such a cutie to adventure with him, and threatened to reveal the rumors about Naofumi. As Raftalia was about to reveal that she was just a slave, Naofumi decided it was time for them to leave. The spear hero's jealous companions encouraged him to let them go. Naofumi mumbled to himself as he marched out to the beginning fields where the balloons resided. He ordered Raftalia to stay back. He needed to punch something in the face at the moment. And the balloons made the perfect target. Raftalia didn't understand what was going on. And Naofumi was not going to enlighten her. Dark thoughts ran through his head as he punched the balloon. If she wasn't a slave, she'd abandon me. She's a woman like that other witch. Even if I told her what happened, she wouldn't believe me. Why did he have to be stuck in this world? As the clock ticked down to the beginning of the wave, all the townspeople were holed up in their homes, as the soldiers prepared for battle. Raftalia explained to the shield hero how she felt. But his mind was clouded by darkness. She explained to him that he had given her everything. In the last month of her life, he taught her how to live and gave her the ability to fight back against the waves that took everything from her. His response was through a lens of darkness. When you die, you die. That went for him as well as her. I obviously will do everything I can to keep you alive, since my life depends on yours. But I'm not sure if I'll be able to protect you to the very end. Raftalia responded, I'm your sword. I'll follow you wherever you go. Yeah. Good luck with that. And with that, the wave began. Naofumi heard a horrible noise. It sounded as if something was cracking. As he looked to the horizon, he saw a scene straight out of a video game. The world was literally falling apart. He spotted the other 3 heroes and their comrades, making a beeline to the enemies. They were transported to the coal mine near the town on the other side of the forest. Naofumi tried to stop them. They needed to strategize. But the other heroes paid him no mind. They needed to begin the evacuation of the villagers first. And luck was not on their side this time. The village was closer to the rift than they were. Raphtalia explained if the village was attacked, everyone there would die. Even being this close to the castle, the knights would not make it there in time. Naofumi would have to protect the village himself. They made it to the village as the first wave arrived. Naofumi jumped off a building. He used Air Strike's shield in midair, landing in front of a villager. He ordered Raphtalia to help with the evacuations. But what about you, my lord? I'm going to bait the enemy. He rushed to the aid of a mother and her 2 children, casting shield prison upon them. He screamed to them that when the shield disappeared, they were to run in the opposite direction. He knew he would never be able to sleep peacefully at night again if these people were to die. He bashed the closest undead in the face, knowing that it would do nothing. And with that distraction, a giant undead obviously different from the others tried to take his arms off. It was way too close a call for his liking. He dashed through the legs of the undead, baiting the behemoth to follow him, saving the lives of the mother and her children's in the process. Lucky for him, the undead weren't very bright. Naofumi used his Air Strike shield to launch himself in the air after being cornered by the group. The shield hero surveyed the battlefield, trying to come up with a strategy that would protect as many citizens as possible. He wasn't paying attention to his back, and the giant behemoth took advantage of that, chopping Naofumi in the shoulder with his axe. His thoughts ran to why he was risking his life to protect people who didn't even care about him. Just in the nick of time, Raphtalia chopped the head of the behemoth off. She had finished her evacuations, but the village was surrounded by demons. Naofumi sensed danger and covered Raphtalia with his light metal shield, which gave him a defense +1. Its effect was higher against magic. Magic fire rained down upon the demons and the shield hero alike. The commander of the knights who had cast the spell gloated that he expected the shield hero to be able to survive. That set Raphtalia off, and she attacked the commander. She informed him that the next words out of his mouth may decide his life. If you knew Lord Naofumi was here, why did you cast such a spell? He explained that he saw his chance to kill as many demons as possible, and he took it. And the shield hero came out of it just fine. So, what's the problem? That's enough, Raphtalia said. Naofumi. That's right, as long as you stay calm about this, you will see that I made no errors, said the commander. Naofumi stayed quiet about the situation because he was watching payback form up behind the knights. And with that, the undead demons began to strike down the knights. The shield hero sprinted in to protect them. He had Raphtalia to start her attack. He ordered the knights to watch for the openings he made as he fought, and to take advantage of them. The commander protested that they would not be taking orders from a criminal. And again, Naofumi saved his life. A younger knight took that opportunity to stab the demon through. And Naofumi told the commander not to misunderstand his intentions. The enemies were flooding out of that fissure. And if he wanted, he could run away and leave you guys to die here. At that moment the fissure began to close. The other 3 heroes had killed the boss. Naofumi ordered the knights to stay on guard, that this area was still teeming with monsters. As they gloated about how easy the kill was, they took shots at Naofumi for not being around. The commander congratulated the 3 heroes on a job well done. The king was throwing a banquet to celebrate the safe removal of the demons, and that they would each be receiving compensation for their deeds during the wave. Naofumi stayed behind to help the villagers clean up the destruction. They were lucky this time. If the wave had went on much longer, there wouldn't be much left to get shipshape. Raphtalia was all in her feelings. She hoped she did her best. She hoped she limited the number of kids that would become like her. Naofumi rubbed her head, letting her know that she did well. The heroes had exceeded the king's expectations. Compared to the first wave, there was little to no damage. The kingdom threw this feast in their honor. As the heroes and the most wealthiest of the kingdom stood around eating and drinking delectable foods, the shield hero stood in the corner, studying. He had to find a way to save more people next time. He cared nothing for the feast. He believed he found a way for the knights to be teleported with him during the next wave. He didn't understand why any of the other heroes hadn't noticed this. If it wasn't for the fact that he was being compensated, he would go home because all of this trash just irked him. Raphtalia was stuffing her face with all the delicacies at the royal feast. The shield hero encouraged her to eat as much as she could. She asked him if he preferred his women on the stouter side. The shield hero had no preferences, and if she seemed a little fat, it wouldn't affect her ability to fight. And their argument about her being a grown-up popped up all over again. He ordered her to eat as much as she could. It would save them money in the long run. As the two stood in the corner, enjoying their meal, the spear hero approached, screaming that he had heard all about it. That Raphtalia was Naofumi's slave. Yeah, that's right. She's my slave. Why don't you take your hands off of her? He informed Naofumi that being from different worlds meant that they were held to a higher standard. The wealthiest members of society stood around acting shocked, as if they didn't all own slaves. He challenged Naofumi to a duel. If he won, Raphtalia would be free. Raphtalia protested but was gagged by a soldier. And the king used this opportunity to attack the shield hero once again. A hero using a slave, of course it would be the criminal shield hero. I will permit this duel, for the spear hero is a compassionate man. The shield hero argued that they were the ones that made sure he had no companions. So of course, he needed a slave in order for him to fight. The king reassured Raphtalia that she would be fine once the shield hero had lost. They would take care of that slave crest. Naofumi pleaded with them to understand. The duel would take place in the palace garden. The spear hero called Naofumi a coward for trying to turn down the duel. Naofumi snapped. Once I defeat you, you will return her to me. The people standing around mocked Naofumi. He thinks he can beat the hero of the spear. He's delusional. Naofumi wanted to make his situation very clear. No adventurers would travel with him. So, I bought a slave. You guys are all acting like the slave trade doesn't exist in your country. But at the same time, you're all taking advantage of it. But if you're going to say that I'm the one in the wrong, then I'll accept this farce of yours. But don't think for a second that I would just lay down and die. The king announced that the duel between the hero of the lance and the hero of the shield would begin. The winner will be determined if one conceded or was pushed into a corner. The hero of the lance informed Naofumi that he was in the wrong and that he would be brought to his knees for Raphtalia's sake. And the duel began. The lance hero dashed forward and struck Naofumi's shield. His expression changed as he saw the manic smile upon Naofumi's face. To think this duel would be like this from the start, said Naofumi. What are you talking about, shield hero? If this really is a battle between the strongest weapon and the strongest shield, then you lost the moment you couldn't pierce through my shield. The hero of the lance activated turbulent thrust, as he informed Naofumi that no one here would accept that outcome. He was in pure shock when Naofumi just shrugged off his attack. Did I not inform you that I had no intentions to lose? I just replenished my supply. These orange balloons are all nice and fresh. You should fight fair and square, shield hero. Naofumi pulled out his newest shield. Shield of the two-headed black dog. The hero of lance was hit with a combination attack. The hero of the shield used dog bite, which he followed up with an airstrike shield. He tossed in all his orange balloons and sealed the combo with his shield prison. The lance hero cried for help. The king couldn't understand how the hero of the shield was holding his own against the lance hero. None of this made sense to him. If I keep this up, could I actually win this? You should just give up, shield hero, before everyone sees how big a loser you are. Naofumi decided to hit the lance hero where he knew it would hurt the most. Shall I order the balloons to attack your face? And how about that part that makes you a man? Once you lose those two, we'll see how important you are. The lance hero screamed. Stop it! The witch used wind magic on Naofumi, striking him in the back. Everyone pretended as if they didn't see it. The lance hero took the opportunity to pin Naofumi to the ground. With Naofumi pinned against the ground, the hero of the lance declared himself the victor. As Raphtalia stood in her current place, her mind wandered back to the memories that brought her here. She remembered her group of friends, who used to hang out on the steps of the watchtower. One day, an argument broke out among them about the shield hero. Her best friend, Rifana, was adamant about marrying him, while the others dismissed him as a mere myth. Raphtalia found herself at a loss for words when they asked for her opinion, unsure of what to say. But then the calamity happened, and everything changed. Raphtalia had been lucky to escape with her life, thanks to her parents who saved her. When she returned to town, she found her two friends relieved that she was alive, but devastated by the destruction of their village. Her best friend Rifana wept inconsolably, but Raphtalia refused to cry, telling them that it wouldn't fix anything. The aftermath of the calamity was bleak for Raphtalia. The orphans, including her, were sold into slavery. Her masters found joy in torturing her, but she refused to let their cruelty break her spirit. Instead, she focused on helping Rifana through their difficult times, reassuring her that the shield hero would come to their rescue, and they would return to their village. She reminded her friend of their village flag, the beacon of hope that they all looked up to. But her best just wasn't enough to save Rifana. However, her efforts were in vain, as her masters crushed her dream of returning to her village. They informed her that the village had been wiped out a long time ago, shattering her hope and triggering her despair. From that day forward, dark dreams consumed her. But then, Naofumi entered her life, bringing with him a glimmer of hope. He cured her of her sickness and protected her from harm, giving her a reason to smile again. She remembered the day when he insisted on buying her a kid's meal, and she realized that she wouldn't have to cry anymore. Her village flag may have been gone, but she had it with her in her heart, and she knew that she could carry it with her forever. The hero of the lance had won the duel, but Naofumi would not accept this. It did not count. Someone had interfered in their duel. One of your party members attacked me with a spell. Losers sure know how to whine. The lance hero gloated. Naofumi shouted to the crowd, all of you saw what happened. It's obvious that they cheated. The witch stepped forward to control the situation. Don't be fooled by the outlandish claims of a criminal hero. How dare he slander the hero of the lance? The king backed the words of his daughter, Malti. The darkness sprung up and consumed Naofumi. All of this had been rigged from the start. All of the hardships he had gone through was the work of a father-daughter duo determined to put him down. The princess witch proceeded to steal away the only thing that brought Naofumi joy in this world. The royal magician cleaned away the slave crest, freeing Raphtalia from her bondage. The witch was consumed with how history would remember her. A pop-up informed Naofumi that the restrictions of the Curse series have been released. The darkness clouded his vision. Everyone was evil, they were all out to get him. There was no one he could trust. He was alone in this world. Raphtalia slapped the lance hero across the face. The witch went to his side immediately. How dare you put your hands upon my lord? When did I ever ask for your help? Wasn't he abusing you? Said the lance hero. Naofumi never hurt me. He only ever forced me when I was afraid to fight for myself. He's never forced me to do anything that I wasn't able to. He's just using you. The day you're not useful anymore, he'll toss you away. I'm Naofumi's sword, he protects me from the demons. He lets me sleep when I'm tired. He feeds me when I'm hungry. When I was on the verge of death, he cured me of my sickness. Naofumi couldn't understand what was going on. What is she saying? He refused to believe a thing that he heard. Tell me this, hero of the lance. Would you ever save the life of a filthy sick slave? Naofumi wanted to run away from this place. He had to escape. The words coming from Raphtalia made no sense to him. Naofumi used his money and ingredients to provide me with meals and medicine that was effective against my illness. Would you ever do the same? Then why isn't there a slave other than me by your side? Raphtalia reached out to Naofumi. I knew the rumors people spread about you the whole time. I never once thought you had committed such crimes. Naofumi knocked her hand away. The woman in front of him was not his Raphtalia. Even his eyes were trying to deceive him. I can be your slave if that's what you need. Listen to me, Naofumi. Even if the whole world blames you, I'll refute them to the end of time. You've always been innocent. I've always believed in you, Naofumi-sama. The darkness cleared from Naofumi's vision. But Raphtalia is a child. How is this possible? She decided this was the best time to explain demi-human childrens to Naofumi. When our levels rise during childhood, our bodies will grow to meet that change. While I'm still mentally a child, I'm physically an adult. Please put the proof upon me that I am your sword from here forward. You've always been my hero, Naofumi. The shield hero realized. He had been ignoring the words he needed to hear since the day he came to this world. Raphtalia had always been right there in front of him. The princess witch was tired of this display. Would not see the aid of the kingdom wasted on such trash. Father, deduct the cost of removing that crest from their funds. My lord, I can't stand being here anymore, let us depart. The heroes of the sword and the bow stood in her way. Both had witnessed the injustice that was done earlier. While I didn't see which one of your party members did it, Naofumi was struck by wind magic from behind. The duel was your loss. This whole situation is embarrassing. Don't you understand that no one around here will oppose the princess and the king? The king turned his back on his daughter. Give the Lance Heroes party the lowest payout. The hero of the Lance was still insistent that he was not in the wrong. Are you really able to say those things still after witnessing that display? The swindler reapplied the crest to Raphtalia. Are you sure you want me to apply this crest? I hate to be the bearer of good news, but this slave is worth so much more now than she was when I sold her to you. She would easily bring in at least 35 gold coins. Raphtalia couldn't believe Naofumi would consider selling her. He insisted he was just surprised by how highly she was valued. He changed the subject by pointing out the eggs with slave crests upon them. Naofumi realized that the anger that clouded his vision made him miss a lot of details from the beginning of his journeys. The swindler explained that this was the public-facing merchandise for his business, and that Naofumi had a good eye to spot it. This is the monster egg lottery. That one lucky winner could even win a dragon. Naofumi realized that this was essentially gashapon. The swindler explained, if he bought 10 at once, he would be able to choose from a box where each egg was worth at least 300 silver coins. Naofumi questioned whether such expensive prizes really existed in the box of eggs. The swindler was affronted. We never cheat our customers or lie about our products. Naofumi decided to try his hand at the game, purchasing a single monster egg. Raphtalia couldn't believe that Naofumi was wasting their money so recklessly. As they sat on the side of the road, Naofumi couldn't help but feel surprised by the taste of the sandwiches. In this new world, he had grown accustomed to bland and tasteless food, making this meal a pleasant surprise. Raphtalia, who had been by his side since the beginning of his journey, had once again come through for him, bringing a newfound sense of joy to Naofumi's heart. Thank you, Raphtalia, Naofumi said, grateful for her kindness. Looking out towards the horizon, the duo felt a sense of excitement for the journey that lay ahead of them. Our otaku Naofumi was in total shock. The next wave wouldn't start for 45 days. They would have to create a plan of attack to use that time wisely. His first suggestion was to upgrade Raphtalia's weapon. But she just wasn't used to a Naofumi who wasn't a penny pincher. He was being totally reckless with his money, and that was only asking for trouble. The two entered the medicine shop. As Naofumi was looking to offload his excess medicine, Raphtalia believed he should hold on to it a little longer. But he had made extra for the first wave, so there shouldn't be any problem with him offloading it before it expired. He didn't believe he could sell the excess medicine for very much due to his limited crafting skills. He was aware that he had room for improvement in that area. The apothecary recognized Naofumi as the shield hero. To his surprise, the apothecary offered him a gift. Naofumi asked the apothecary, "What's this for?" It turned out to be a recipe book for medium-level medicines. Naofumi was still taken aback by the kindness. The apothecary revealed that the shield hero had saved one of his relatives in Riot Village, and for him to consider this his thanks. The apothecary's relatives asked him if he would help the shield hero if their paths crossed. "You can have it for free, it's old and used." Raphtalia was happy that they were making new friends. Naofumi was thrown for a loop. Why did the shield translate spoken word, but it wouldn't translate writing? Despite what the apothecary believed, the book would only be helpful to him if he learned to read this language. And shield hero. Make sure you visit the magic shop. You'll find another patron for your journey there. Naofumi had no idea what a magic shop was. Why if it isn't the shield hero? It seems our little shop owes you a debt of gratitude. Naofumi was confused. He didn't believe he had done anything for the magic shop to owe him a favor. "Sit down here. I will use this magic ball to see what magic you align with." As I suspected, you lean heavily towards protection and also recovery magic. "And you, my dear?" "Yes, I see it's going to be light and dark magic. Our shop deals in all sorts of magic. Here, these grimoires will be perfect as your young eyes open to all the possibilities of magic. Go on, take them now." Naofumi couldn't believe how heavy these books were. Their pages had to be lined in lead. "If it was my wish, I would train you myself. But I'm sure you two are bound to leave this place sooner or later. But if you put serious effort into learning, nothing will be out of your reach." All the goodwill that Naofumi was receiving was helping his heart on its path to recovery. "Thank you, ma'am." "No thank you, shield hero. We're grateful for what you do on our behalf." "Raphtalia, can you read?" "Only a little, master." "It's going to be in my best interest to learn this world's language. Up to this point I've managed to get by, but how about the two of us learn it together, master?" "It's a deal. Let's do it." "Raphtalia, you've been glowing from year to year lately. Did something good happen to you?" "You can't be serious, Naofumi. All the things we've done here doesn't affect you in the slightest? You put the safety of everyone in Riot Village first. You cared for their lives when no one else would. Well, we didn't save everyone. They're all grateful to you for the ones we did protect. My ears tingle thinking about what you've done. And my heart jumps thinking about how proud I am of you. I keep forgetting that she was a victim of these waves. Truthfully, I feel nothing from my actions during the last wave. But to Raphtalia, this definitely reminds her of home. While I do this purely for my survival, she's carrying the hopes and dreams of her people in her actions. Her smile makes me think that this world that she lives in is totally worth saving. I have to put my efforts towards the day when this is all over. While she might look like an adult, she's still a child on the inside. I'll make sure that she's able to survive here, on her own when I'm gone. It's the least I can do since I wasn't here to save her parents when they needed me." The two spent all their free time learning to read. Naofumi was determined to get this under his belt. While studying, he felt as if he was hit with an outside source of vertigo. "Naofumi, the egg is hatching." "Chirp!" A chubby little chick came bursting out of the monster egg. It instantly pounced on its mother's head and made that perch its home. "Let's ask around and see if someone knows what kind of monster this is." Do you know what this is?" "That's a beautiful baby Frilorial you have there. The last wave took out most of our flock. But if you look over there, you can see two grown-ups. They love to pull carts, it's in their nature. If you don't let them pull a cart on a regular basis, they'll make sure you're not happy." Naofumi thought there was something off with a living being wanting to pull a cart. The more lore he found out about this world, the more he realized how off it was. Raphtalia asked, "What do we feed this little cutie?" "When they grow up, they'll eat almost anything. But as a baby, it's best to feed them mashed warm beans. It won't take very long for it to grow up. Especially if you level it up. It'll grow out of that perch before your eyes. Chirp. So it's similar to demi-human kids in that regard. Okay, let's go put some levels under this little guy's, or girl's belt. Excuse me, shield hero? I'd like to give you these as appreciation for what you have done. Because of you, the only damage I received was a small hole in my roof. If I'm not mistaken, you don't have any feed for the little one. Oh, how much will you charge me for those? It's really okay if you take them for free. You just name your price. I'm not sure how much they're worth. But sir, look, I appreciate your kindness and all. But as you said, you lost your entire flock. And your barn is in need of some repairs. If I had it my way, I would most definitely help you with reconstruction. And the truth is, I've received far too much gratitude. So, will the shield hero feel more comfortable bartering for them? We should figure out how we can make money and help the villagers at the same time. But in the meantime, let's go harvest some medical herbs. That sounds like the safest way to level up Chirp. Okay, our path forward is decided. We will spend our time learning to read, studying magic, and learning new medicine recipes. If we succeed, we will have a commodity that we can sell to villages, helping them out and helping out our pockets at the same time. In no time, little Chirp had reached level 12. This new shield of mine does seem to work miraculously for rearing up monsters. But do you think it's growing up just a little too fast? Naofumi woke from a horrible dream. He rushed out to the stables to see if it was true. Crawr! Chirp had undergone a rapid transformation and had become a fully grown Frilorial overnight. Naofumi and Chirp bonded over a game of fetch. Chirp was fast and agile. Naofumi was impressed with her skills. Raftalia had never seen such a smile on Naofumi's face before. Good morning, Naofumi. Why are you up so early? Raftalia, I want to introduce you to Frio. Frio? Yes, it was an inconvenience for her to not have a name. She doesn't chirp anymore, so that wasn't viable. She spent all her time eating some funny grass and, poof, we have a full-grown Frilorial. Does that remind you of anyone? My growth rate was completely normal. Do you think she can get any bigger? I hope not. If she grows any more than this, then she's not a Frilorial. The three approached a crowd growing in the village square. What's all the commotion? Is no one concerned about the reconstruction work? Oh, shield hero. It's horrible news. By royal decree, the king has made me in charge of the reconstruction of this village. Am Kitamura Motoyasa your new lord? Naofumi shouted at the hero of the spear from the back of the crowd. Why are you in my new base of Operation Shield Hero? No, the more important question is why do you possess the title of lord? My master has been acknowledged for his deeds during the wave by the king himself. Do you understand? Whatever, it doesn't matter. You, the hero who sinned, needs to get out of town immediately. How dare they try to steal this town? During the wave, they cared nothing for the people here. What's going on here? I'm the lord of these lands. No one has informed me of any changes. The witch came down on the older man, letting him know that if he disobeyed the king's order, he would be punished. And with that, the tyranny of the Lance Heroes regime began in earnest. Their first decree was to impose a toll upon the town, 50 silver upon entering or exiting the town. This set the crowd off. This hero had no idea about the economy for simple villagers. Sleeping one night in the inn cost you a single silver coin, with a meal. A normal adult lived on 20 copper coins a day. Well, everyone's going to have to suck it up because these are the new rules and nothing's going to change that. Princess bitch. A group of cat ninjas surrounded the princess. You shall stand down. A certain master has sent you this letter. The princess, who was acting high and mighty only a second ago, was sweating from what she read. No, I will not back down from this. Shield hero. This is all your fault. I challenge you. And the winner gets to decide the fate of this village. Naofumi was puzzled. What did he have to do with any of this? The witch proposed a race between their thoroughbred dragon and that chicken bird. Naofumi firmly refused. Why should he be involved in any of this? The villagers begged for his help. He was their only chance. His original goal was to use this town as his base of operations. If he was to lose such a challenge, he would lose everything. He had nothing to gain from participating in this farce. While the villagers worked hard to convince Naofumi to race on behalf of their town, the hero of the lance took this opportunity to poke fun at Frio. How do you expect a chicken to beat a dragon? Look how cheap it is. It has mixed colors. It's not even pure white. Frio took out the trash, sending the lance hero flying through the air. No one would attack the pride of Naofumi's friends. A wicked grin spread across his face. I accept the challenge for the rights of this village. Raftalia knew exactly why he accepted. He gained joy from seeing that lance hero hurt. And this race will give him the perfect opportunity to put that guy in his place. Frio, I trust you to take good care of our master. The first to complete 3 laps around the village's perimeter would win the race. Are you ready? Are you set? Go! Frio started the race off with 3 powerful leaps. She was totally pumped up for this and having the time of her life. This bird is fast. Everyone was shocked by how dominant Frio was. Go, shield hero! Naofumi-sama! You can do it! But the witch wouldn't allow this to be a fair race. She whispered her plot into a soldier's ear. The two were off to an amazing start as they were building a lead on the lance hero and his dragon. Frio came crashing to the ground. Someone had dug a hole in the course. The shield hero was furious. Frio could have been hurt. The knight pretended he was oblivious to the situation. Naofumi suspected the knight of being the culprit. The lance hero dashed by, acting as if this was all just great luck. This kingdom was full of cheaters. Someone was constantly casting magic spells upon Frio. Naofumi could clearly see a knight casting a spell upon them. Fast speed down. Frio fought through the spells, chirping as she went. It seemed as if the spells were impairing her senses. As she fought to stay upright, the dragon took a cheap shot, swiping Frio across her face. Crawr! Frio was enraged. She had had enough of this. A sound could be heard throughout the village. Boom, boom! Each of Frio's steps blasted a hole in the ground. Boom, boom, boom! The cheaters were panicking. How was this possible? They even stooped so low as to boost the dragon's speed. The witch ordered for them to proceed with the final blow. A hole the size of a boulder appeared beneath their feet. Frio's claws caught the ledge, and she took flight, sprinting away as their opponent fell into the hole. The cat ninjas suspected foul play as they examined the course. This hole is proof of your cheating. The cat ninjas dragged the cheaters away screaming. Naofumi and Frio had pushed themselves to the limit and pulled off an amazing victory. The village will remain in the hands of its previous lord. He had now saved this village twice, and he wanted the reward he was promised from the village. They begged him to give them a few days to come up with the reward. Naofumi agreed on one condition. They needed every penny they could get to reconstruct their village. He informed them whatever reward they gave him could not be monetary. Even though he put up a tough show, he cared for these people. The Lord came up with the perfect reward for Naofumi. He would be granted a traveling merchant's license, allowing him to travel around the kingdom selling his goods. Naofumi would be able to make profits and repair the reputation that was unjustly gained. This divine bird will allow you to travel fast, increasing your profit margins. As a gift, the village will create you a wagon like no other. With this reward, Naofumi would now be able to become a seller, not just a producer. The three spent their days leveling up, practicing their wagon skills, and studying. He wished he had a shield that could solve this reading problem of his. But things like that would just make this a little too convenient. Frio loved her team and spent every chance she got showing them. Stop it. Your body is scorching. His companions took this opportunity to tickle him to death. Naofumi was most pleased. that Frio's appetite had come under control. This meant that her growth stage was finally over. The next morning, Raphtalia sprinted into their room. "Master, it's Frio. You must come immediately." They raced towards the stable in a panic. This just couldn't be. The two rushed to the main city to get answers. "Slave merchant? Welcome, shield hero. What brings you to my humble abode?" Naofumi demanded that the merchant tell him what type of monster was sold to him. The merchant checked his records and for sure it was a filorial egg. "Now look at that. What part of that do you think is a filorial? Oh my, how marvelous." The merchant was shocked that Naofumi had raised his egg up so splendidly in such a short amount of time. There's a legend that says wild filorials tend to band together. And among these groups you can find a chief, also known as the filorial kings or queens. That sounds like a whole bunch of wish-wash. You don't know any of this for sure, do you? How about this, shield hero? You leave her here with me? And I do an investigation into the situation. I'm okay with that. But I want you to understand. If you are not able to come up with the right answers, you better not do anything to her. Do you understand? Crar! Crar? With that, Naofumi allowed Frio to be locked away in the slave pens. Crar! I'll see you later, Frio. The merchant and his slaves were ecstatic for such an opportunity. Frio flipped out. Crar! Master, we can't leave her here, she's family. I'm not so sure about that. She's most definitely trouble. Before their eyes, Frio transformed into a naked loli. Naofumi had no choice but to approach the blacksmith shop after hours. There was no one else in this town he could trust. The blacksmith heard someone screaming, "Uncle, uncle, uncle!" and rushed to quiet the commotion down. "I'm sorry, you'll have to come back tomorrow, the shop's closed." As he opened his door, he saw a half-naked child pointing at him from his doorstep. "Hush, it's rude to point at people. I'm sorry to barge into your home at this time of night. Are you really just here to brag about your new slave?" "What? That's not it at all. Oh, something smells good, tummy is rumbling. Oh, that's just a little something I whipped together as a late-night snack. Would you like to join me?" "No, don't invite her in." The little monster dashed inside the blacksmith's house. She scooped up his whole stew pot and began to devour it in her filorial form. I've had better. I'm sorry, uncle, I'll replace your meal." "Frio, you turn back to your human form right now." "No, tummy's full, I'll do that later." "That's it, I'm going to teach you some manners." Naofumi activated the slave's crest. "I said change." "You want?" Frio cried and begged for the pain to stop. "I expect absolute obedience. If I tell you to do something, you do it right away." "Wow. Aren't you a bit of a dictator there, shield hero?" "Dictator my ass. If you had been at the slave dealer's shop, you would have seen how big a fuss she threw. We had to upgrade her slave crest because the normal one wasn't good enough." "Okay, let's just all calm down. But Master won't sleep with Frio in this human form." "Whoa, you can't say such nonsense in public. Are you trying to damage my reputation even more?" Frio clung on to her master's side. "Frio won't let anyone take Master. Not even, old lady big sister. Why are you acting like a total brat? I've only ever treated you well. To call me old? Remove your hands from me. I am not your property." "Master Frio's father? I am simply the person who raised you. And what's the difference in that? What about that old lady? She's like my daughter." "That's not true. Not fair. Why can't Frio be like your daughter?" The blacksmith just wanted his home to be quiet again. "How exactly can I help you? Do you have clothes that won't rip every time she transforms?" "I can't use the slave crest to keep her in one form or the other. We sell weapons and armor here. We don't sell clothes." "So, you're telling me to take this monster who could turn into a naked little girl outside? Why does this kid have such power over me? Look, I don't have such an item. I'll introduce you to someone who may be able to help. If you need an expert in transformation magic, she's the one." The blacksmith led Naofumi to the magic shop. Yes, such items do exist. Being a witch myself, I'm able to transform into animals, but I rarely do it because it's such a pain. Because of this, I do have a set of skills that allow me to make such clothes. I use the word skills, but it's more like magical power. I can create a magical thread that can turn into clothes when you transform. When you turn into an animal, poof, magical thread. When you turn back to human, you're fully clothed. You see how this works? But there's a little snag in the process. You see this antique spindle here? The gem that powers it broke many years ago, and the replacement costs more than it's worth. But that's where you come in, shield hero. Let's load up in my wagon. This little one can pull it. Wow, she's so fast. Continue heading in this direction. They arrived at a place that Naofumi wasn't interested in entering. Is this where we dig up the gem? Oh no, we won't be entering that building. Legend says that an evil alchemist once used this as his lair. There's a cave nearby. We'll head there on foot. Not everyone was pleased with travel by wagon. Raphtalia seemed to have a bad case of motion sickness. That really didn't bode well for her future travels. Naofumi ordered her to stay in the wagon. She'd be useless in her current state. It would be best if she just got some rest. I'm sorry, master. No, Raphtalia, don't force yourself. Just get some rest. Frio sung away as they entered the cave, her voice echoing over and over. Look what I can do, master. Naofumi had an awful sense of déjà vu. The key moment in his and Raphtalia's life was their visit to the Ore Cave. That trip had changed both their lives. Frio spotted an empty treasure chest at the end of a lit hallway. But it turned out to be more than just a simple treasure chest. An ancient tome was left there to warn away treasure thieves. To those who would break the seal on the seeds, I pray that the seeds will not reach the outer world. How unusual. The alchemist must have hidden his failed experiments here. They headed back in the other direction, to see if they could find the proper path. Naofumi hushed, the witch and Frio. They were going on about how it was a delicacy to be lost during dungeon exploration. Delicacy. Delicacy. Delicious, right? Something caught the attention of Frio. She tried to inform her master, but she was just ignored. You are becoming mighty useless. I don't get why you don't understand that the slave dealer wants to buy you up. Let's see how much fun you have when they feed you bitter medicine and investigate your body from top to bottom. Frio rushed him. She had to make sure he understood that she loved him. She would be a good kid. She didn't want to be abandoned. Her commotion put out the torch, plunging them into darkness. Naofumi heard Frio's voice coming from all sides. I've been hungry for quite some time. And master. Oh, master, looks delicious. Then she ripped a chunk of meat out of his arm. How was she able to bypass my defenses? Is she really trying to eat me? Oh, what a delicacy. I want more. No, this doesn't feel right. Where's the pure horror? Where's the killing intent? Naofumi whipped out his two-headed black dog shield. As the room blasted into light. As I thought. She's not herself. The witch began to cast spells on the cave dwellers. She cast anti-bind on the group, freeing them from the hallucinations they were experiencing. These monsters are causing the voices and hallucinations in your head. Don't be deceived. Yes, Naofumi knew that if Frio was trying to eat him, there would have been way more killing intent. Wait, only a dream? Master's not gonna leave Frio. Frio, listen, I will never abandon you. I may tease you, but remember your family. She flipped out. How dare these monsters deceive her? She'd eat them all. Usually, people would be upset after going through something that traumatic. But you seem totally fine, Shield Hero. It's not my first time being through such a situation. It was just a scratch, so everything's fine. There's no point in saying anything to Frio about it. What? What about Raphtalia? Frio, look, I'm not going to try to figure out what you're talking about. So be quiet, that's an order. As they arrived in the Cave of Gems, they realized they weren't alone. The monster looked to be a chimera to Naofumi. but the witch informed him that it was a Japanese monster with the head of a monkey, a raccoon's body, the limbs of tigers, and a snake's tail. News aren't from this part of the world. It made no sense for such a young monster to be so far away from its homeland. The group decided that it was best to retreat, since they lacked their warrior Raphtalia. But Frio had other ideas. She charged them and attacked. As the monster started to counter her attack, the shield hero made it in time to defend her. But this monster was on another level and landed a blow that most definitely wasn't a hallucination. Frio smacked the monster away. No one could touch her master other than her. The fearsome foe leaped back into battle. Their enemy was dangerous. Is master okay? I would be okay if you hadn't charged in when we had the opportunity to retreat. Frio figured it was easy prey. Anyway, we could still use its weakness against it. It's sensitive to sound. Exactly how do you know that? Frio just knows. In that case. Magical shop owner? Plug your ears. I'm going to make an opening, so be prepared to attack. Naofumi had just received a shield that would be perfect for this situation. Voice ganger shield, bat type, special effect, megaphone. As the new rushed into attack, Naofumi placed the shield in front of the loudest thing he knew. Frio, give it your all. Can I really, master? Do it. Pissed. Pissed. She let out a long, loud honk. New's eardrums burst. The magic shop owner was there on cue. I, as a source, command, attain again the truth, and burn in fire. Zweiter Führerschlag. Frio leaped over her head and removed the monkey's head from the raccoon's body in dramatic fashion. She cheered herself on. I won. We won. I won. Frio. Now that I think about it, this monster had to come from the last wave. They both couldn't just happen to be chimera. For us to have killed a similar monster without Raphtalia. Color me impressed. Frio, you really came through. Yup. This is what we came here for. What a marvelous sight. The stones are so beautiful. Yeah, Frio, if only Raphtalia was here to see it with us. Naofumi-sama, how did you get that wound? Speaking of the demi-human. Raphtalia. I can't leave your side for 1 minute without you getting wounded. Naofumi realized that he might need to hurry up and learn recovery magic, otherwise he'd get nagged to death. I'm sorry I wasn't by your side when you needed me the most. You're going to have to work on controlling your motion sickness. On their way back home, he ordered Raphtalia to ride on Frio's back. I want master to ride me, not old lady. What did we talk about in the cave, Frio? Sorry, I'll behave, don't send me to that dealer. The magic shop owner got to work right away on creating a masterpiece fit for a queen. Tada! Frio leapt in the air. Does it suit Frio? It makes you look like an angel. It really does suit you. The dress cost Naofumi around 40 silver coins. The high-level slave crest was 340 silver coins. You do know you're costing me quite a fortune. By comparison, Raphtalia was a bargain. Master, can you please refrain from saying things that make me sound like a cheap girl? The blacksmith reminded him that he needed to add the cost of his dinner to that tally also. Naofumi prepared a cookout outside the city walls for the whole group. Uncle sure did enjoy his meal. And to think he said Shield Hero's going to cook, I don't know about that. I sure impressed him with my culinary skills. How can she sleep in a place like this? She did do her best to make sure no one got anything to eat other than her. I'm just thankful her days of running around half naked are over. As they stood there, glaring off in the distance, Raphtalia became sad, then furious. Did you have someone you liked in your original world? Ha! No. Why are you asking something like that all of a sudden? I just want to know what you thought about me. I hate that I have to burden you so much for my sake. Anything else? I think it's my responsibility to raise you well in lieu of your parents. Thanks to Raphtalia, my heart began to heal. And I earned the luxury of enjoying the beauty surrounding me. All because you put your faith in me. Raphtalia, you're very dear to me. I couldn't ask for a better daughter. Everything was going so well until you took that strange turn. Naofumi was taken aback to why she believed him pouring out his heart was strange. I'm not the one who's strange here. Asking such questions. You're trying to be sly. You can't have Master to yourself. What? Frio wants to be with Master. Why can't you just sleep and give us a moment of peace? Naofumi, the hero of S.H.I.E.L.D., had 2 cute daughters. The team was having a hard time holding back the plant beast. No matter what they did, they kept coming. Naofumi had to protect his girls at all costs. A town was suffering from a famine like no other. A hero came to their rescue. He presented the town with a miracle seed. The hero's actions saved the town from destruction. The tree that grew from the seed was a miraculous wonder. There was no limit to the type of fruits it bore. That was until the town noticed something was off about the tree. No matter how serious things became, Frio could always find time for a snack. Yum, fruit delicious. You want to try, Master? It tastes like a potato. This wasn't what Naofumi was expecting for his first traveling merchant trip. A few days after returning from the cave, their journey as traveling merchants began. They received a request for a large quantity of herbicide. But upon arriving at their destination, Naofumi knew that his herbicide alone wouldn't solve this problem. We received a ton of money up front to handle this problem. We can't abandon this town. It's our duty to help. The group came upon a young kid slowly being consumed by the plant. It's most definitely feeding on life energy, Master. Hey little kid, do you have any money with you? Master, why do I always have to give away free stuff? He poured a bottle of basic herbicide over the child's body and down his throat. It was a stroke of luck that the herbicide that he made could be used as medicine. Sir. Hey kid, just stay where you are until I come back for my payment. As they continued traversing the town, Raphtalia was taking too much on her shoulders and putting herself at risk. Don't go so far ahead, we have to pace ourselves. An apparition headed towards Naofumi's back. But Raphtalia's speed was on another level. She was there before he knew it, cutting down the apparition. She was most definitely reaching her limit. Hey Master, look, what a huge tree. That tree there is our target. If we take it down, we can end this. The 3 let out a battle cry as they charged in. The plants withered away before the eyes of the villagers. Families were reunited. They rushed to comfort each other. The people of this town had tried several times to get rid of the plants. No matter who they hired or what they did, the horror plant still remained. The townspeople searched for the individuals who had bestowed this miracle upon them. But they had already departed, leaving behind new seeds and a message that they would return for their payment. Papa, they said we didn't have to worry anymore. A new tree possessing a red fruit stood tall in the center of their town. Frio, this is our only food source. Please try not to eat it all. Raphtalia was worried about the town. Naofumi reassured her that his new shield, reconstruction vegetation prevented any form of mutation, so everything would be fine. And before you asked, that town had nothing to give us. And knowing who we are, would only bring them hardship. Raphtalia's cough had returned. Don't give me any sass, and just take this medicine. Naofumi, why are you saying something so unnecessary? When was the last time I complained about your nasty medicine? Raphtalia was grateful that the people of Riot village had blessed them with such a splendid carriage. Frio really did enjoy pulling the carriage. She would pull it non-stop if they let her. But Raphtalia needed rest if she was going to get better. So Naofumi chose to camp outside, giving her room to do just that. Naofumi did inventory on their stock of medicine. Frio switched back to her human form, and snuggled in for warmth. She burdened Naofumi with another unnecessary question. Master, why did you choose Frio? It's just that I was wondering if you would be okay, if I weren't Frio? He explained that she was the one that hatched from the egg. And if she hadn't, they wouldn't be living the life they were right now. And that nothing and no one would ever replace her. She should do her best to be a good member of their team. And if she did just that, she would have nothing to worry about. Naofumi had said just what she needed to hear. You can count on me. Naofumi had a feeling that none of the events he was going through was merely luck. He was disheartened that the two people he cared for most in this world, he had to endanger on a regular basis. But he had no choice in his current situation. No matter what, he would protect them with his life. Hopefully there wouldn't be any complications tonight, and they could all just get some rest before departing in the morning. Naofumi had captured a group of bandits in the night. First, I want you to tell me the location of your hideout. I want everything that's worth money. What's going on? How can a saint act this way? Or maybe it's just best to drop you guys off with the closest town watch. Saint-sama, you can't do this to us. All we tried to do was rob that accessories merchant over there. You bandits must be mistaken about something. Did I ever promise? To let you live. I think this is the perfect time to teach my monster here the taste of human flesh. This was right up Frio's alley. A meal was a meal to her. Even though Naofumi was being worshipped as a saint these days, not much about him had changed. Oh my God, that was wonderful. You could teach me a thing or two. To think you made an opportunity out of a bad situation. The way you squeezed those bandits for everything they had within an inch of their life. I'm so touched I could cry. They literally bought their lives with everything they had. We were assaulted because of you, so I'm expecting a reward. Yes, of course, sir. I'll teach you my secret craft skills, how to add magic to gems. And I'll also give you access to my distribution channels. Are you crazy? You don't need to go that far. Raphtalia couldn't understand why Naofumi attracted the biggest weirdos. But it made her happy when he gained respect for just being himself. In these moments she knew. He was the hero who would save the world. Raphtalia, Frio, we have a traveling companion. Let's go. The next morning, they had a passenger. A fan of the divine bird. There's a rumor that's spreading around these parts. That there is a merchant. With a cart pulled by a divine bird. Who bestows miracles on every town he visits. Did you say miracles? They can't be us. We're simply merchants selling our goods and medicines. Or anything else our customers request. I never thought I would run into such a humble merchant. Is that the book that has all the secrets of synthesizing medicine? Isn't it a good thing that they didn't figure out that you were the shield? Frio, why are you always running your trap? The divine bird is so wonderful. Don't praise her. We don't need her ego getting any larger. In the end, they lucked out and their traveling companion hadn't found out that he was the shield hero. I guess Frio is pretty rare. To think we're becoming famous. Don't say it like it's a good thing. It's only gonna lead to complications. They set up their goods in the new town as people gather around to purchase. Their medicines were their most popular item. Raphtalia, if it intrigues you, there's no problem with you keeping an ear out for rumors. Just remember, you don't know where they come from. So, it's best to take them with a grain of salt. They heard of a town near a mountain that could use medicine. When they arrived, they found the town in the midst of a plague outbreak, with many residents showing symptoms of the disease. Naofumi knew that he had to find the source before his medicine could do any good. All this had taken place because of the sword hero. He killed the dragon for materials and left the carcass behind to rot. Apparitions had begun to spread from the power that remained in the corpse. And to think he abandoned this town after they helped him acquire those materials. I guess you can't expect a high school student to understand that when you start something, you have to see it through. Maybe the hero of the sword hadn't understood what happens when you leave behind the rotting corpse of a dragon. Naofumi checked in on a patient who was being treated with his medicine. But in the end, he knew it still wouldn't be enough. Naofumi decided it was best that he left before the people here got a delusion in their head that he could save them. As he tried to get out of town, he explained that he would report what was going on here to the capital, and they could send the heroes to help. But for some reason, the townspeople knew that he was their best bet for survival. A crowd formed begging him to save their village. Why did this keep happening to him? Why was he expected to clean up the messes of the other heroes? This was just like the magical plant incident. Naofumi informed the villagers that he wasn't a charity worker. They would have to pay for his service. As the villagers rejoiced at the chance their village might be saved, Naofumi prepped his team for what lay ahead. Our main objective will be to dispose of the dragon's corpse. We'll take the cart as far up as we can, and we'll finish the journey on foot from there. We need to finish this as quickly as possible and do our best to not get caught up in senseless battles with apparitions. The villagers collected all the money they could and hoped that it would be enough. Yes, this will do. He equipped his new shield and prepared to head out. Chimera Viper Shield. Skill, Chain Shield. Increases dexterity. Increase poison tolerance. Special effect, Snake Venom Hook. The villagers became unnerved when they realized it was the notorious shield hero. They couldn't believe that he would stoop so low as to take money from citizens. Naofumi explained to them that if he had outright offered them help, they would have refused. No one does anything for free. But the reality was, he was the hero. That helps in the name of charity. This is as far as we go by cart. The miasma has become too thick. Make sure you keep your face covered. We'll track up the rest of the way on foot. As the group got closer to the summit, it was covered in a thick, viscous fluid. As they approached the target location, giant fly monsters began to swarm them. Frio thought they looked delicious. She was drooling at the beak. You can see, everything here is rotten. What are you thinking? Naofumi had originally planned on burying the corpse. But that plan wasn't viable anymore. He would have to feed the remains to his shield. That was most likely the safest option. Since Frio was not allowed to eat the apparitions, she chowed down on the red fruit. They planned out their course of action. The corpse would need to be chopped down into manageable pieces. Frio would provide cover for Raphtalia. Frio, your job will be to exterminate that group of apparitions. Raphtalia saw the dragon's corpse twitch. Master. Just now did the dragon move? Ha ha. That's impossible. The rotten corpse of the dragon burst up to its full height. What the? All the while Frio continued to eat. The zombie dragon bellowed. To their horror, the dragon started to regenerate. Even without his horns and fangs. This was going to be a challenge. Zombie dragons were always stronger than their living counterparts. They had to retreat. They stood no chance against such a creature. As the dragon prepared to attack, Frio was food drunk. She was not paying much attention to what was going on. She took a blow that knocked her over. That was all it took to set her off. Are you looking down on me? Frio! Felorial and dragons have been on bad terms for centuries. Naofumi, not thinking clearly, ordered Frio to come back. This turned out to be a horrible decision. Her slave crest lit up, and she came tumbling to the ground. The plague dragon swallowed her whole, red liquid splattering everywhere. He turned towards them, blood oozing down his face. Naofumi recklessness had caused this. He screamed her name. Frio! She was barely a month old. Even though she was spoiled rotten, she was always by their side. He was being delusional to believe that he could protect them. The darkness rolled up from his pit and consumed him. Whose fault was this? Was it his fault for not stopping her? No, it was his fault for not turning those villagers down. If Rin hadn't left this corpse here, none of this would have happened. Why was he chosen to become the shield hero? Do you want power? Naofumi stood there in total shock. He was losing a nightmare that had become real. Raphtalia begged him to come to his senses. They couldn't stay here. They had to retreat fast. Hate consumed him. He hated everything in this world. He wished it was all just gone. The voice in his head granted his wish. Let hatred and power engulf you. Curse shield, shield of wrath. The dragon reached out to smash them into the ground. But it was too late. Self-curse ignition. Flames whipped up the dragon's body. That's right, I'll burn you. I'll burn everything. Naofumi had gone off the deep end. With these flames, I'll set this hateful world ablaze. Naofumi, please don't leave me. Please! Naofumi snapped to his senses. He had set the only person that believed in him on fire. Raphtalia! Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with another exciting installment, so stay tuned and hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss it. We'd love to continue this story. Let us know if you want to see the next part by liking this video.